Greetings and welcome to BeIndie.biz. My name is Alan Thorn. In this movie, we're going to take a look at the awesome power of C# properties. We're going to look at how those features can help you make better games, and they really can. C# properties are awesome. If you want to do things like make sure your variables are between a particular range. For example, maybe you've got a timer script and the timer can't go below 0 and the time can't go above 100, and you want to make sure the variables are locked down to those values. C# properties are exactly what you need. Or maybe you want to create a health script, and when a character dies and all their health is gone, you want loads of other things in the game to be notified about it. Again, C# properties are exactly what you need. So this movie is about how to get started with C# properties. I'm going to show you how to do that. So here we're going to be taking a look at how to use C# properties. We're going to begin with this scene here that you can see inside the Unity editor. It is a glorious, arid, bright orange desert that could be in Arizona or Texas somewhere. We've got these rocky outcrops, we've got these cactus objects here, we've got this really arid landscape. And so in a landscape like this, we can't stay here for too long, otherwise we might die of thirst, dehydrate, or just get eaten by the wildlife here. So I've created this timer object you can see inside the hierarchy panel. It's an empty Unity object with a timer script attached. This timer is going to count down, and basically when it runs out, that's it, game over. Now I want to make sure that this timer script can't go above a maximum time of, let's say, 100, and when it counts down, it can't fall below 0 into negative values. And when it does reach 0, I want other things to be notified about it. I want that event, the expiration event, to be publicized. We're going to be using C# properties to do that. I'm going to double click on the timer script down here inside the project panel to open the timer script into Visual Studio. Now, the first thing that I want to do, and the way C# properties work, is they act like an intermediary or a front line for our variables. Rather than set our variables directly, we tell the C# property to do it for us. This gives the C# property an opportunity to validate our values and to verify what they are before actually setting the variables. It really is that simple. So I'm going to create a variable, which is going to be our timer variable. Now, notice that I set this to be a private variable. So that's really, really important. We don't want other classes, other objects being able to access and change this value. It could be that 101 different things could reset and adapt that value, and we would never get to know about it. C# properties are going to be a single point of access that's going to help us know when a variable changes. I'm going to add a new C# property to this script. This time I'm going to call it timer value. Notice that here it is declared like a variable, but here it is structured like a function. That's really important. Now, a C# property has two aspects, a get and it also has a set. These again are very important. These are accessor methods. They're going to be used for getting and setting the value of this timer variable. So I'm going to write this in combination, for example, with the start function. And let's say at the very beginning of the level, we want to set the timer to 100 seconds. I could select the public version. Notice I'm not selecting the private one. I'm selecting the public version here. And I'm going to set that initially to 100 seconds. This timer value C# property is going to be our point of accessing this timer variable. Rather than actually set this timer variable directly, I'm going to be resetting its value through the C# property. So in this instance here, if ever we need to get what the value is, for example, if I had a variable here and I said, what is my time equals my timer value, at this point I want to take the timer value and put that in this variable here. So I want to read or get what the value is. That's what this get part is about. So for this, I simply want to return our timer value. We're taking the private variable timer and we're returning that through the get function. Now in the set function, this is where we're actually setting and validating what the value should be. So in this instance, I could set, for example, my timer equals value, and value is going to stand in for whatever value we want to set it to. So for example, if we reconsider this start function again, I have timer value equals 100. This score, or this point system of 100, these 100 seconds here, this part on the right hand side of the equality symbol, that's value. Every time a statement like this happens, the set function is going to run, and here value is going to stand in for the new value we want to set it to. So in this case, timer equals value. But of course, I could put in a value like -10, and that wouldn't be valid, because one of the things we wanted to do was to keep this timer between 0 to 100. So I'm going to be validating the value here with a mathf.clamp, and the value should be between 0 and 100 seconds, like so. So that now value, even if it is -10, it's going to be plugged into mathf.clamp and is going to be locked between that range, so that the entirety of this expression is going to be assigned to the public timer here. Now, during this set function, we also have the opportunity to identify when it's been reduced to 0. We can simply put in an if statement to say if the timer is less than or equal to 0, then, well, the time has run out. So we're going to run the timer expired function, and I haven't created that yet, but I'm going to do so right now. So I'm going to move down here to, let's say, create a public void timer expired function, and inside there I'm simply going to say print time is up, like so. And then here in my case, I'm going to simply have an update function to take my timer value, and I'm simply going to reduce it here by time dot delta time, so that over time the timer is continually reduced. It begins at 100 and then reduces. To demonstrate this, I'm going to make this property here, this private variable of timer, a serialized field, so I can see that reduce inside the object inspector. So here I'm going to have that code compiled, make sure my timer object has that script attached here. I can see the timer value here. I'm going to press play on the toolbar, and as I do so, you can see the timer reducing. I'm going to set this to just maybe 5 seconds and press play on the toolbar. And finally, when this gets to a value of 0 here, again, we're going to see here printed time is up. Now, it's continually doing that here on repeat. We might actually want to put in an if statement, so it can only happen once here, to say if my timer is already 0 here, then simply return, and we don't want to do anything else. We don't want to change what the value is. That way the expiration event can only happen once as opposed to repeatedly. So this time, if I press play on the toolbar, the time is going to reduce until finally it gets to 0. The expiration message is printed, and this time it happens only once. So this is a really great way we can use C# properties to achieve some amazing functionality. You'll want to use this for health scripts, timers, for score values, and for other kinds of properties where you need to validate the values, and you also need to tell other things when those values change. C# properties, please, please, please make them your friend.